G'day fellas, and welcome to an Age of Mythology Retold build order guide for the Norse, in particular the brand new Norse pantheon, Freyr. These pantheons only available if you've got the DLC. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can check it out. Let's get into the build order. So this build order focuses on the strengths of Freyr. This is the best opening I could possibly find that look to take advantage of those strengths. So what are those strengths in my opinion? Number one, it is going to be your Asgardian hill fort or your Asgardian bastion available through Lear. The second component of that is playing a more economic style, which is a second town center. It's up to you how defensive you want to be, whether you want to be aggressive out on the map or whether you want to be defensive, chilling in your base. It's up to you how you want to play it. Let's get to it. We'll start off by taking a look at our little Excel spreadsheet here. So we're going to start with 3 gatherers going over to gold with an ox cart. Feel free to take a screenshot of this one if you want. And let's get down to business. So 3 vills over to gold, ox cart follows, grab that berserk, send him out onto the map. Town center, we're going to rally it over to a straggler tree. And these vills here are going to collect 50 gold. That is it. That is the only amount of gold we're going to collect here during the Archaic Age. We're not going to collect any more. And the way that we guarantee that we only collect 50 is we click on the gold mine and we watch it. And when it gets down to 29.50, we grab our vills, we right-click the ox cart, and then we shift-click them up over onto the giraffe. That way, they're all going to hand in their gold, so you can see we're at 151. We've got enough now, at 40 seconds in the game, to throw down our temple. From here, it's a super-duper easy build order. I love this one. You just rally to food. That's literally it. 1 vill on wood on the straggler tree. Everybody else just goes out to food. And now we're focusing on our scout. As I mentioned earlier, it's up to you how aggressive you want to be. I've already spotted out my natural expansion, this second town center, and if I wanted to, I could look to just place my temple down here and look to play around this position. But I'm feeling a little bit more aggressive today, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get out onto the map, and I'm going to know, because my natural expansion is here, that our enemy should be spawning somewhere in this region, and that the natural expansion should be over in this direction here. So that's what we're going to look for. Now, when it comes to this strategy, we don't actually put a house down early on. There will be no house before you actually click your age up. And because of that, it means that we're aging up very quickly. So we need to get our temple down super duper quick. If we have a look here, our age up is due at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So with your temple, it takes 30 seconds to construct. So as long as you're dropping your temple down before 2 minutes, you've got plenty of time to scout out your enemy, scout out their base, but do keep that in mind. So temple now going to be thrown down. Keep in mind behind this, we're just doing our standard thing. We're just gathering up our giraffes. One of the little mini games that you will need to prioritize at the first stages of this game is going to be getting your hunt in close to your ox cart. You don't want to do what I've done right here, where all my villagers, or one of my villagers, unintentionally shot away that giraffe. We want to try and take those giraffe out a little bit earlier. What I like to do is get a villager and push them around onto the other side of the giraffe or the hunt, and then shoot it towards my ox cart. Even though the ox cart moves, it's still an important habit to look after, and it minimizes the amount of distance that your villagers actually need to walk. So as we're approaching our age up now, we're at 14 out of 15 population. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to queue that last villager, and I'm going to turn auto queue off. This guarantees that I don't have any issues with spending 50 food too much and then I have to cancel the vill to get my money back. All that kind of shenanigan. We just want to avoid it. So what we're going to do is get ready to do a force drop-off. So here we're going to be grabbing all of our villagers the moment this vill finishes, and we're going to right-click, and then we're going to put Lear in queue. Now that we've got that age up through, so it was about 2:32 that we actually clicked the button, now begins the transition period. Up until this point, we've had every single villager over on food, with the exception of one who's been on the straggler tree, but that is about to change. Now we switch our vills from 12 and 1 to 6, 3, 4. That's the idea. We want to prioritize these resources. So I'm going to move 3 vills over to the wood line. We will be building an ox cart for them. And I'm going to move 3 vills to my gold mine and transition the straggler tree vill off there just to minimize the walking distance. I'm also going to make sure that I keep my berserk close by to my expansion. I guess I just also want to just touch on this. As I said earlier, I was feeling quite aggressive today, but if we take a look at the map, there's nothing that stops you from taking a more central town center location or settlement location. You can also play for a more defensive location. So feel free to replicate this on any of the town centers that you've got available to you on the map, with the exception of the enemy's town center. Probably not a good idea that you go for this kind of strategy on that one. So let's get to it. So now that what we're going to do is we're going to look to drop down a house and also throw a hearse here in queue. One of the things I always like to do is with my villagers, drop down the ox cart after I've actually gathered up 10 gold from each of these guys, so that as they build the ox cart, they immediately hand in the 40 gold, and now I can train up my hearse here. This guy's going to be really important. He's going to help us build our Asgardian bastion or our Asgardian hill fort. We're going to drop down the house as well. And our economy is very well balanced here. One of the things to note is that this is a very quick age up. Sometimes you do see 14-ville age ups with the Greeks, but this is pretty much as quick as you get with the Norse. So one of the things that we've got now is we've got access to our Draugr. And because we've gone aggressive here, we're going to be able to put some pressure on with the Draugr. Immediately, our Asgardian hill fort is put down. This is at 3 minutes and 30. Keep that in mind. It does take 3 minutes for it to actually come up, but obviously if you've got your Berserk or if you've got Hersiers that are building it, it's going to pump that number or bring that number way down, and that's exactly what the plan is here. So, naturally, we're going to start working on that. Little bit of a mistake there from me, but we fix it up, and now the Draugr is going to come out and immediately start to put pressure on the enemy. Another thing that I didn't touch on, but I want to make sure that I do, be sure to turn your auto queue back on if you've turned it off the way that I did before you aged up. It's a mistake that I've made many a time. Don't worry, we've all been there, so don't feel bad when you finally remember, oh no, but just try and keep it in the back of your mind during that transition period that you are going to be needing to do that. All right, let's continue on. So before 4 minutes, we're already pushing our enemy off the hunt. We've found a single Berserk here. We're just going to start attacking him. For anybody wondering, we are playing against an AI today, and that is just simply to preserve the integrity of the game state. We want to make sure that we're not dealing with silly little raids coming back here, because what's important is that we show you and we demonstrate what it looks like in a standard environment, not one where we're dealing with the aggression of the enemy. So now we're continuing to train Hearse here at this point. So if we take a look at the reference sheet, it just says Q Hersiers. So I normally go up to 3 Hersiers. I think that's the best number. You get the best bang for your buck there, because we're going to be using these Hersiers to also build our town center as well. So if we go for any fewer Hersiers than that, we're probably going to be delaying that town center. If we go for any more, we're also going to be delaying the town center. So it's this nice little sweet spot that you've got. So we continue putting on pressure here. When it comes to the town center and the way that we rally the town center, I forgot to mention this before, so apologies. The first villager that comes out after you age up, that's going to go to wood. After that, you're just going to rally your town center over onto gold. Yeah. So if we take a look here, you can see that we rally TC to gold after 1 vill to wood. We're also going to construct a house with a wood vill, because we want our military to be constructing the Asgardian hill fort. This is the most important part. We need this to get up as soon as possible. Keep in mind, it's 423. Most civilizations are only aging up now, and in the event that they do attack us with myth units, we will have these Hersiers to defend us. The only issue that we might have would be against the Greeks if they've got their heroes out, because their heroes are quite formidable. So that is something to keep in mind. Maybe play a little bit more defensive against the Greeks. So as our Draugr gets chased away, we know that the enemy has now aged up, and there is the Valkyrie coming out. So we're going to turn around here, take a couple hammers to them, and work towards our town center. We are slowly getting there. So you will see our resources in the bank at the moment are looking very, very good. The hill fort comes up before 5 minutes, and now we move to take the town center. And normally you can get a pretty decent time here. In this game, I get 5 minutes and 10, which is not too bad at all. I probably could have tried a couple more times and got it down, but 5:10 is a very nice benchmark. And just keep in mind that with this strategy, you can play it from any position on the map. You don't have to play it from here. If you want to play it nice and defensively, go for it. Put your hill fort. Make sure you always try and keep these guys close. Remember that your hill fort has a minimum range where it can't attack, but then it has the maximum range where it can attack to. Make sure your town center is in that ring, because the town center is going to be able to cover the hill fort in the event that your enemy attempts to start sieging it down. So no matter where you are on the map, always try and follow that rule. Try and avoid putting them, you know, you don't want to stick your Asgardian hill fort here, because then it does leave the settlement a little bit, or the town center, a little bit vulnerable. I like to keep them together. You can also look to play a more central position or a more neutral position if you want. I'd probably avoid something like this a little bit too far away. So we ride back on board, and now that we've got the town center down, this is where we switch up our villager allocation. I've just moved over a couple of villas from gold over onto wood, and we're going to rally the town center out over to a new food pack. This is something that you've got to be careful of, and I suspect this is probably going to be the way that players look to counter Freyr, because this 2's TC strategy is quite strong, potent, no real counter to it. So I suspect players will look to try and take advantage of the map control, look to try and take or deny hunt from Freyr. So there is a realistic chance that you might spend a bit too much time in your base gathering berries or looking to try and gather up closer to that secondary town center. So with our forward keep, we're able to defend against any enemy aggression like we've got here. Our town center is almost up. Keep in mind, we started this at 5 minutes and 10 seconds, so it's almost coming online just about 70 seconds later. And once it's online, we're going to be able to construct our longhouse. And the idea is that we want to be going into a really nice composition. We're going to go with Huskarls and throwing axemen. That's the idea. If the enemy makes a lot of raiding cavalry, we're able to mix in hearses as well that do very well against them. Not amazingly. And to be honest, we can always mix in herdmen as well if our enemy looks to just be going, or just maxing it out, basically. But this is one of the big advantages to playing as Freyr. The fact that you've got access to a lot of Age 2 unique stuff. Number one is going to be the Huskarl, normally only available in the Heroic Age. It's available here in the Classical Age, which is lovely. But on top of that, you've also got access to another very special technology, and that is, let me just jump into our tech tree right here and show you. It is going to enable you to get battering rams an age early. So that means in the second age, you can have battering rams battering down the enemy's doors. So this one right here, Yadalir, nice and cheap as well, 75.50. He gives you his famed U-Dales, enabling portable rams an age earlier and improving the work speed of all hill forts. So nice little bonus there, but you do get the portable ram early. So it's up to you how you want to play it. You know, if you want to go aggressive like this, maybe it makes more sense to go into the portable ram. If you're playing more defensive, maybe it makes sense to go up to the Heroic Age and look to try and prolong the game a little bit, because that's where the strength of Freyr lies. One of the advantages of taking an early or a forward town center like this is that if my opponent does push me, I can always get out my Gullimbursty. I can always get him out, and if in the event things go well, then he can start going to the enemy base and sieging it down. Whereas if that's back home, Gullimbursty is not going to be able to do too much. So that's always something to keep in mind as well. The fact that you can fall back on Gullimbursty is always a bit of a blessing when you're playing as Freyr. So I'm going to continue building up here towards the front of the base. Now that we're not really doing anything with our military, we can use it to construct houses rather than using our gold vills to construct houses. And we can look to put on some pressure. At this stage of the game, we're feeling really good though, because we've got 2 town centers. Both of them are pumping out villages. And our macro is really easy. The way that it works is simple. If I have extra wood and extra gold, I'm going to make Huskarls. I'm also going to make throwing axemen. And if I've got any extra food over the top, I'm going to make Hersier. Nice and simple. Super duper easy to macro for. And one of the other things to note, we're going to pick up our upgrades now. And we're going to look for a Heroic Age. We don't have to here. As I said, it's up to you, the way that you want to play it. But I figured, you know what? We might do a Heroic Age. We can play into maybe... is it called Blizzard? I'm not sure exactly what it's called. I feel like it should be called Blizzard. It's called Tempest. My mistake. Blizzard's probably something else. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's quite strong playing into the Heroic Age here. Our mass is quite significant at this stage of the game as well, for the 9-minute mark. Once again, if the enemy tries to push us with a larger mass, we're always going to fall back in between our Asgardian Hill Fort and our town center. We're going to get ready to pop that Gullimbursty if we need to, and we're going to prioritize getting up to the Heroic Age, or at least that's my plan here. Put on a little bit of pressure towards the front, and that's pretty much it. Like, realistically from here, it's very simple as the enemy does a... Watch out, guys. It's a forest fire. I arguably the worst god power in the game. I will say that much. But yeah, from here, it's just about dropping down the armory and getting up to the Heroic Age. So I'll leave it there. If you've got any questions, if you've got any feedback, let me know. as I said, this was the most optimal opening that I could find with Freyr. I apologize for getting this out. I had actually recorded every single build order that I had prepared, but then the patch came, and then naturally when a patch comes in Age of Mythology, the replays go out of sync. So I lost everything that I'd been working on while I was sick. Yeah, we will rebuild. We will rebuild, and obviously we're now looking to build a hill fort in the enemy base. So that is always going to be something a little bit difficult to deal with for the enemy. But anyway, we'll leave it there. And of course, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.